Hi, welcome to a brand new video of the Target Individual Program, Target Individual Experience. So today, I should say yesterday, it's after 12 now, quite a day. Uh, you know, I was by Pam Sunday, stayed over, and came home yesterday, Monday. I'm sorry, not Monday. Came home, yeah, Monday afternoon. And I have some video I have to upload, but I decided to not upload them because again, every once in a while, I will not upload the video soon after because again, just trying to see what it is that how they're going to target me differently, what they're going to convey, and of course, the usual. But I'll explain that in another video. But anyway, so I woke up. It was like after 12. I gave Pam a call. Her phone rang. She didn't answer, and I know she had a doctor's appointment with for my daughter, and but I thought it was going to be earlier. So I called her. Phone rang. Went into voicemail. I tried her back about almost an hour later. Her phone just went into voicemail, what have you. And usually when they do stuff like this, again, I know it's purposeful, and so I called her back probably about an hour later because I'm just like, what's going on? 'Cause usually, sometimes when I call, I know that her phone will not ring. Sometimes when she calls me, my phone don't ring, and I'm sitting right next to it. Or even my son, when he calls me, my phone will ring. And when I call him, his phone don't ring, right? And so soon after, they started, you know, with the sirens. So I'm like, okay, here we go. So I texted my friend, and I said, hey, I'm calling Pam. Her phone rang, and then all of a sudden, when I called back, it just went into voicemail. And I tried her again, and it just went into voicemail. So, so she finally called me back, almost like 4.5 hours later, right? And she was telling me that she has such a difficult time, but she was at the facility for like over 4 hours. I'm just, that's crazy. That like but again, this is how they do this as a test to see how I would react and stuff like that. After they get a little worried. I mean, as a parent, yeah, you do because you want to find these. Particularly, she's taking my daughter to the doctor, right? She took her to a neurologist or what have you. Why? Because again, uh, like I said, they when we're being hit with directed energy weapons, particularly silent sound, or it affects us. And again, I think that these doctors are lying. They're covering up because my daughter will complain about headaches and stuff like that. Right? Same thing with my son. I even took my son to get a MRI done, and they were like, "That's fine," which I don't believe because there are times he gets up and he's like, you know, his head is hurting. My daughter also constant headaches and stuff like that. What I experienced, so I know that again they're covering it up, right? Because again, they're trying so hard to hide what it is that they're doing, and also the damaging effect that it has, right, on not on human being, on our biology, our neurology, our minds, our bodies, what have you, right? And they're trying to cover it up, okay? And this is nothing new. We know that during the particularly MK Ultra, these doctors were lying. We know all these experimental programs. You have doctors that were lying, nurses lying, covering up the evidence of what it is they're doing. See, they tried to do it with me in the beginning, but I was very, very persistent, until I finally got I finally got an MRI done, which showed the extent damage that they've done, not just to the gray matter, but to the white matter, right? To where the technicians were like, you know, um, you're like, did you play sports? Did you have concussions? And I'm like, no, I don't play sports. So, and they were like, again, the extent of damage you have it shows people who have conditions, particularly concussion, particularly sports athletes, football players. With my back, hey, you know, the extent of your damages, were you in a serious car accident? I'm like, no, I wasn't in a car accident, because that's what they thought, like, it was for insurance, right? I was like, no, I was never in a car accident. It's like, wow, it's like the damage to your back is consistent with those who've been in a serious car accident, right? And it took me years to get the evidence that I needed. They did everything from denying me uh, my medical insurance, right? Denying, you know, try to get the okay to get the MRI done, denying all this stuff, man, until I finally was able to get it. So they're doing the same thing with my kids too. Again, because again, trying to cover up the damage because they know the anger, they know the, you know, that will happen, right? And again, when they're using these technologies on a lot of people, particularly silent sound, it affects them neurologically, and they're covering their asses. They are covering their asses up. Okay, believe me on that. I'm telling you. I'm not just saying this to say it. Okay, you go look at their history of when they do things like this. Okay, and so like I said, I know when my daughter starts screaming because she has headaches, or not screaming but yelling in pain. My son too gets in the middle of the night holding his head, saying he's feeling sharp pains just like how I was feeling sharp pains, and they want to tell me after that there's nothing wrong. Actually, when I went to that facility with my son, the doctor, not the doctor, but the technician, the radiologist or whoever was doing these hand signals. So again, they're covering shit up, covering it up. Okay, so I know, and particularly when we all start suffering from short-term memory loss. Okay, they're covering this shit up. And they think because again, when they do this to people who don't have the money, who don't have the financial resources to fight them in a way in which those that have money can, they get away with these things. Okay. So anyhow, and again, so I got back, and again, and then Pam started acting really, really, you know, weird again. It's funny how she'll be calling me, and then the next day she won't even. If I text her, I only get a text back. And I'm like, I text you. You ain't gotta call me. Just text me. I text you to ask you a question. You can answer, text back with an answer or what have you. But that's just like I said, I've been dealing with this shit with her like that for years, and so it doesn't really bother me. At least not anymore, right? Because again, I know the behavior, I know the patterns, and so I just again, the effect is just I'm not getting psychologically or emotionally aroused or what have you. It's not gonna happen. So anyway, but yeah, so, like I said, they started using the sirens again and all this stuff, and then my family members again in the house, they started looking down at my feet, this sort of thing. I'm just like, yeah, okay. So whenever I don't post a video right away, this is what they'll do, right? Okay, but I want you to understand the reason why they do it, particularly to you as a TI, right? It's like because again, when they start to see you getting stronger, meaning mentally, that does not mean that what they've done to you hasn't affected you, right? It does not mean that they haven't caused psychological damage or neurological damage. What it means is that you are now able to see the patterns of the things that they're doing, and they no longer can affect you greatly emotionally. It doesn't mean that you don't still get affected emotionally, right? It just means that you're not um, you're not in an emotional extreme state, one that's negative, one that's they can say, oh, they, he or she flying off the handle, or he or she getting all verbal and all that. And you guys see my video from times I get like that, but it's very rare now, right? Not so much now because I understand, I can see their patterns, and that's why when I walk with my phone, I'm recording, and I'm explaining as things happen, because again, these are patterns that I've been studying. So at times I can predict what it is that they're going to do, because I know the pattern, the program, the patterns of behavior. Them. In the past, you feel like you're under some sort of trance or some trance-like state, right? But now you're not in a trance-like state, but you can see the patterns, and it doesn't affect you as much, right? So this is why you can explain it. That's why I can explain it. I can predict what exactly what I'm doing. Like when I leave the house, I start to see the patterns, pick up by the patterns right away, the colors, whether they're using black or gray or red or what have you. And as you can see, as I'm walking on my path, you'll see a plethora of people wearing that exact color, right? But I'm not exhibiting the extreme fight or flight phenomena. Why? I just engage them with my defensive, uh, uh, um, with my defensive, right? My psychological defenses, right? Just as how they are on their psychological offense. I'll get on my psychological defense, or I'll get on my psychological offense, and I watch them play psychological defense. Okay, so I'm not gonna upload those videos yet. As I said, I'm just waiting, just observing. You know, because again, I study, I observe, I study. Okay, and I expose it. All right, so I'll talk to you guys in the next video.